Hi, Strat here with another farming video. Since you guys really like the Harbinger one, I figured that this time I would cover one that's even easier to get into. You only need two very basic Scarabs that you're going to use for this strategy, and you can even do this strategy without any Scarabs whatsoever in higher tier maps. On top of that, this strategy works in yellow maps. So these maps are just so infinitely easier to run. Here's how fast you can run a map. You can literally just ignore everything in the map that isn't an essence. It's not relevant since it's a lower tier map. We only want the instances and then the boss. Later, I'll talk more about the maps you want to run with this build so that you do the boss at the end, and I'll explain why that's important later. These maps are just so easy that this footage is all recorded while using a white weapon with crafted attacks so they just can shield charge a little bit faster. Although, you don't really want to see like a level 99 on 100 character running these maps, so I also did the same maps on standard with a character that is barely functioning. It's like level 89, and it has like really bad gear that I use to record league starter videos with at the beginning of the leagues, because you do want those characters to be barely functional so that people see that the league starter works with literally basically nothing equipped, even to the tier 16 map. So that's why this character is so weak, and even then you can see that it's killing the essences just fine. But popping back into the guide, the mistake I did last time with the Harbinger strat was not showing the price of Scarabs last time. So this time, the Scarabs that we need for this strategy, you need 1 essence Scarab of Ascent per map that you run. They are barely above 3.5 chaos right now, they're pretty cheap. And then you also need the basic Scarab one, which are barely above 1 chaos. You need 3 of these per map, and then 1 Ascent Scarab. That's everything you need. You need only 4 Scarabs, 3 basic ones, 1 Ascent. You don't even need your 6th map device slot, you only need the 5th map device slot, which you get by doing a Maven 10-way fight. You just do it by following the Maven quest. You don't even need to kill real pinnacle bosses, it's just invitations that lead up to it. You can also get carried to it if you really need to. So again, this strategy is so easy. You just blast maps. The faster you do maps, the more currency you get. You are quite literally only limited by your ability of doing these maps quickly. So the quicker you do the maps, the more essences you get, the more profit you get. You can make a lot of money if you're fast with it and if you're a little bit diligent, and you only really need a little bit of single target damage because, you know, it's just a yellow map. While they are tankier than the normal monsters in the rest of the map and tankier than the boss, it's still only a yellow map. So especially in this league where it's so easy to get single target via your mercenary, I can talk about some uniques that you can put on your mercenary to make you do more damage in a bit at the end. It's just so easy to run this strat. You can even just focus on speed and just getting through these essences quickly. As you can see in the background, you just want to focus on going and killing your essences. Ignore everything else if you need, and we use other means of getting power through our Atlas tree. So speaking of Atlas trees, let's just get into it. Alright, the Atlas tree. I'll explain everything in this tree. I'll also provide links to this Atlas tree in the description below the video, so you can just yoink those if you want to copy the strat. But this strat is so simple. There's so few points needed for all the essence because there's only like 3 essence clusters. Well, 4 if you count the main basic one. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to grab this essence cluster here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. But now here comes the fun part. Because we have so many points left over, and because we're running low tier maps, which means that, you know, stuff like Maven and altars from Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds, they cannot spawn, we can just get free power. And what do I mean by free power? Well, we get shrines in our maps, which are doubled in their effect, which means they give twice the buffs, you know, with a random one, and they last longer. And sometimes you'll get more shrines because of these nodes over here, so you get extra power from that. We're going to get packed with energy right over here, which means that whenever we click Voltaxic Sulfite node from Nico, you will get damage, movement speed, and all maximum elemental resist. So this makes you faster, deal more damage, and deal more tankiness. This will be consistent because we grab just enough chance to make sure that Nico spawns in every single map without having to use any Scarab or map craft. And that's why we need exactly this one node here to hit the 100%. It looks weird, but you need this one. We also don't care about that. On top of that, we grab Huck from the smuggler caches in the maps. So like you're just gonna click the smuggler's cache and you're gonna get Huck, which will help you with your map. So it's just free power again. Also, blueprints are just decent to sell in bulk. They're a nice little bit of extra bonus money here and there. Ignore the points that I had over here. It was just from like some other testing that I was doing for this strat in tier 16s, but don't worry about it. You also take Lost in Transit, which means that whenever you find an ore deposit in a map, there's a chance that it'll be a lost shipment, and it just has pretty decent loot in it. It even has chance of getting really rare tattoos that sell for a few divines, and it's just fun to pop those barrels and get some extra loot from there. We also get some extra map drop chance from here, and this cluster over here, as well as if you really need extra maps, you can pick up Shaping the Mountains if you'd like. But that's it. Really simple strat, really straightforward, tons of power from the Atmosphere. You're going to feel more powerful than normal with, the pack with energy, the shrines, the hook, in your maps. Pretty good. Here's another alternative strat that you can do that focuses on getting Refiner's Bargain. The last line is the thing that we care about, which means that Life Force found in your maps is granted as a random crop instead at 300% of the value. This means that by grabbing the harvest nodes on the tree, and just doing every harvest as it comes in the maps, you don't need to use any different scarabs or anything. It will just spawn and you'll just run it. You'll get more crops, which means that you can just send shipments in King's March if you've done it. And with those shipments, you'll get currency back. This stuff is really busted. You're just going to get like random divines and random chaos and random tattoos. Just means extra profit. However, this version doesn't really use pack with energy. There's no Nico stuff and there's no heist stuff to aid you. So it's just the raw currency that you get from harvest, from selling the juice, which is quite valuable always. Since people always need the crafts. And then you can send shipments in with that. And the focus is still on essences. This will be slower. I haven't tested this one as much because shipments are honestly way more random and you can't really predict how well they will do. It's just another option that if you don't really want to blast maps non-stop and do these maps really, really quickly back to back. This one is more chill, but it's also more varied. So how do we sustain the maps for this? Because we're going to be running low tier maps, which means that you have a normal atlas and your void stones in place. You won't be dropping the tier 10 maps that you need, or whatever tier you prefer doing really. Depends on how strong you are. So to achieve this, you're just going to take out all your void stones and see the map that you want to run. So if you want to be running Strand, which is naturally a tier 3 map, you're going to need some of your void stones in. This will make it tier 6 and the second one will make it tier 10. This is what I would do. Just keep the 2 void stones in, which also means that this is more accessible. You don't need to be doing all your 4 void stones and progressing all of this to get there. So it's just easier for everyone to do. And then with your favorite slots, you can do all of your slots for Strand apart from one, and then just one of the connected nodes, probably do like a Jode or something like that, so that you don't waste any map drops that way. So how do we decide which maps we want to run? So it's quite important that for this strategy, you have a map in which the boss is at the end, or that you can go to the end only after clearing the whole map. This is important because of this note. A map boss is granted a random essence modifier for any imprisoned monsters slain in your maps, which means that you will be buffing the map boss with essences, and in turn he will drop those essences again. So you just want a map that's just smooth to run. You don't want to do a map where you have to ignore the boss and then go around and do all the other essences and then return and do the boss. That's just annoying, it's inefficient, and it's not very fun. So I would recommend a map like Strand, a map like Mesa, a map like Jungle Valley, Tropical Island, things that are just easy to run, one straight line, no distractions. You just blast, you grab your essences, and you go. But where is the profit in this strategy, and how do you really make money? So I will preface that with the downside of this build is that you are going to be using the Faustus currency exchange a lot, because that's where you're going to sell your essences, unless you want to sell them via the normal trade by listing them in bulk, but that requires a little bit of extra interaction, and it may be slower, it may be better. I will let you decide on that. But all of the prices that you see here are based on Faustus on the currency exchange at the current rates. I have a breakdown of all of the math of these 3 maps that I did for this video. The maths are on the screen, and you can see that at the time of recording from these 3 maps, so only 3 maps that took barely over 7 minutes, I made 135 chaos of just profit, and then you deduct the costs that it takes to run per map, which is around 10 chaos. So after taking everything into account, I made 105 chaos total in 3 maps that took barely over 7 minutes to run. If I was a little more focused and it was a little more in the zone, this would take a shorter amount of time and I would be making even more money. Obviously, your mileage may vary on the power of your build, the speed of your build, so the profit is majorly dependent on your ability to run these maps really fast. The faster you go, the more profit you're going to make. At the rate that I was going in this video, I would be making... I did the rough math, I can also post it on screen here. So the rough math over all these 3 maps that I did, which I don't think I got lucky, because these essences are pretty standard, I didn't really get lucky with my contempts or my envies or anything like that, I would be making over 5 divines per hour, just chilling in low tier maps, just blasting, can even be watching some YouTube or some other stuff on the side. Really chill, over 5 divines per hour with really low investment. You don't even need to roll these maps, they can be white. It doesn't matter, you only care about the essences. In fact, probably running them white is better. There's no interacting with altars, there's no thinking, you just press the essences, you kill them, and you get money. It's that easy. So I did promise you that I would show some easy ways of getting speed and damage from your mercenaries. This will all be very basic. I'm sure that there's people out there that have min-maxed this way more than I have. However, here you go anyway. If you're just focused on speed, you probably want a ranger or a kineticist or a sniper type of mercenary to go alongside you because they have haste and they can also deal pretty decent damage themselves. So I would be on the lookout for that. However, the mercenary that I use is more focused on defense and is more tailored to my build, but either way. Here are the uniques that you want to do depending on your build, of course. Sparkle's Toe is obviously really, really good for any build that is hit-based because it just makes your hits lucky, which is a huge damage increase, especially for lightning builds. This is also something that every build can do, is having a ring with a curse on hit that is relevant for your build, and then you have to pair it with the Doger's Damning so that monsters can take both curses at once, you know, the ones you normally apply, plus the one from the mercenary. If you're an elemental based build, you can take some Scorch uniques like Legacy of Fury that just makes Scorch around your mercenary, which reduces their resistances, which increases your damage, and then you can even get some more Scorch from Dawnbreaker. On top of that, there's many other uniques that you can use. You can even use Singularity if your mercenary can take it. I'll show you in a bit. You can use a Shaper Helmet like this or other influences depending on the type of damage that you do. It's just nearby enemies take percentage increase X or Y type of damage. In my case, it's elemental, so there's versions of this helmet with chaos, with physical, with everything else. Just go on PoEDB and search whatever mod you are and how to get it. I'm sure there's other uniques that you can use. For example, you can use a Singularity to boost your damage, really cheap. You can use a Sign of the Sin Eater to make sure that you are never afflicted by elemental ailments. This is really easy element immunity to put on your merc. You can use Dying Breath so you can get more damage. You can use Asenaths to get another curse. If you're not running a curse ring, you can use Asenaths for temp chains and it will make them explode, makes your clear speed a little bit bigger. And I guess you could explode the little monsters from the essence and get damage of that on the main guy. That also works. And you can also be using a Leer cast, which is just 50% increased damage. That's pretty good. Here's another advanced strat that I don't really recommend, but if you're crazy enough and your build is really strong, you can do this strategy with 3 basic essence scarabs, as well as 1 ascent, and a calcification essence, and the calcification scarab. This one is more expensive, is almost 40 chaos at the time of recording, and you can do that in a tier 16 maps. Again, you have to be quite crazy to do this, because it requires a really good build, since these monsters, the essence monsters, and especially the boss, they're gonna be, it's gonna feel like an Uber fight, almost. Maybe not, but like it feels like it because they're gonna be so tanky. I'm gonna run the map and provide you with the footage. This stuff is crazy. You need a really optimized and good build. I'm like 300 or 400 divines into this build that I'm playing, and it's still, you're gonna see the damage that I take and the damage that I deal and how long it takes. I guess for context, I have around 60 or 70 million DPS, and you'll see how long this boss takes. Let me run this map. So that's all I really have to say about this strat. It's so simple and straightforward, already yapped a lot. Let me know if you keep enjoying these videos. A lot of people enjoy the Harbinger one. Also, a lot of people were saying that the strategy got more expensive and less profitable, which is just crazy because, as you could easily tell by PoE Ninja, the Scarabs did not go up in price at all. In fact, Ancient Orbs got more expensive since I posted the video somehow, which means that you make more profit. On top of that, a couple days after I posted it, Harbinger Scarabs plummeted in price. They're like almost half the price now. So if you really want a lot of money and a lot of really nice experience, although you probably need a tanky build to do it, go watch the previous video. Still really good. It's honestly, it's even better than before. I hit level 100 by doing that strategy, and I would do it again. It's just so chill and so nice. But this strat is even easier. It does, however, require a little bit of tradings because you got to trade all of the essences. The process at which you do that is like, what I would do is, I don't know, imagine that I had a lot of, imagine that this was like all of the deafenings that I got, right? Because that's where the money is. It's just purely on the deafenings. Screaming Essences and Shriekings can also be decent money, I think, but they're a lot around like 1 chaos each, or maybe less in this case with Screams. But you go on here, you say that you have your Essences, and then you type them in, you say the amount that you have, and you want chaos for them. And then you're gonna have to do this process for every single essence, which is a little bit annoying. However, let's say that you've been blasting the whole day, you've just got off work, you go home, you played for 2 hours, you got like a gazillion essences, you come here, you trade for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then boom, you got a billion chaos orbs to do whatever you want with and improve your build. Spend it on blackjack and King's March, I don't care. It's gonna be a great time. Alright, thanks for watching, and try to make more money than I do, I think. I guess. I don't know. Bye. In hindsight, I should have really brought the Frostbound to stop his healing, huh?